Step in, lean in, mic on, and begin. Hey! Been quiet too long, chewed up tongue. Turn down songs, clock keeps ticking on the wall. But your name's still missing from the roll call. Let your voice be heard, say every single word. From the low notes to the sky, your hands up high. Let your voice be heard, loud, clear, undeterred. Got a light, buddy?
Yeah, sure, kid. There you go.
And your wallet.
Nick, give him your wallet.
If it shakes the room, that's how you know it's you, yeah. Oh, yeah. You got a truth tucked deep in your chest. Heartbeat tapping out, say it, confess. Crowd might stare, let them do what they do. They never held a fire living in you. Let your voice be heard, say every single word. From the low notes to the sky, your hands up high. Let your voice be heard, loud, clear, undeterred. If it shakes the room, that's how you know it's you, yeah. Speak up, name your dream out loud. Stand up, you're the leader of this crowd. One spark, one shout, watch the silence melt. Power in your mouth is the truest thing you felt. Let your voice be heard, say every single word. From the low notes to the sky, throw your hands up high. Let your voice be heard, loud, clear, undeterred. If it shakes the room, that's how you know it's you.
Welcome. Let your voice be heard, talk radio. Once again, my name is Cloyd Holmes. I am your host of Let Your Voice Be Heard, talk radio. We are again tonight. We have an awesome guest. Niel, I want to say welcome back.
Thank you very much.
We've had Niel here on a couple of occasions. And I think a lot of you may know Niel. Some of you may know him, some of you may not. I'm not sure, but Niel is a CPA, certified accountant. And last time
y'all see me? Y'all see me?
Yes, we see you.
Oh,
yes, sir.
okay.
Yes, sir. So last time Niel was here, Niel gave us a plethora of valuable lessons on income tax returns. When filing your taxes, he gave us some do's and don'ts and some pros and cons of using a CPA opposed to using one of those big companies to do your taxes, which a lot of us like to do. Some of those places, as I think one of the people on the panel had asked a question, it might have been Karen. I think she might have asked about getting a check in advance. Those people do that sometimes against your return. So somebody they want their money right now, and those big places will do stuff like that. Or some of those, I don't know about people that's just doing taxes, but I know those places do things like that. We talked about audits and mostly anything dealing with tax returns. However, today we're going to dig a little deeper. We're going to dig a little deeper into this thing. And it's such a blessing and a pleasure to have you here again with us, Niel, because there was such a huge response, man, overwhelming response, and questions were pouring in even after we got off the line. We didn't see you again up until now, but there are lots of questions that came in because we are on Facebook and YouTube and we are on all the social media platforms, and we stream live. So a lot of questions come in after that you get off. So this is why we need you back. We need we need you back because there's a lot of interest in this subject because everybody files taxes or don't, and there's got to be some, there's reasons for, and there's do's and don'ts as you have given us. So tonight, though, we're going to get into something a little deeper. And I'm going to turn the floor over to you, Neil. But we're going to talk about Social Security and retirement, and that's a lot to that. I want to know about that. I want to know about that stuff. So, and I'm sure that there are lots of people out here that also want to hear and know about it. So, with no further ado, Neil, I'm gonna turn this over to you. The floor over to you. The floor is yours, man, and give us what you got, man.
Okay.
I got my pen and pad. I'm ready.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Clay. Thank you very much for having me back. And to those who I've met before, it's nice to see you again. And if there's somebody new here, uh, please, what I want to share with you. I want people to be knowledgeable, to be educated, to know what is and what is not. That's what's important, especially when it comes to taxes and money. And now we're talking about Social Security. And in fact, I broached the subject because Social Security is in the news again. It's in the news a lot, a little more so than more so. So because we hear every now and then that Social Security is basically running out of money, and that there will be impact on that unless Congress takes action to help restore the fund. But before we go into that, let me give a little bit of background on Social Security. Now, Social Security there are really three aspects to Social Security. There is a death benefit, there is a disability benefit, and then, of course, there is retirement. And we're going to focus on retirement today. So, a little bit of background. So, the Social Security Act was passed in August of 1935 at the height of the Depression, because most people in this country had absolutely nothing to live on when they stopped working. And a lot of people at that time speculated in the market. In fact, if anybody here know the book 1929 by Sorkin?
No, I'm not familiar with it.
Well, you should check out that book. It's a serious read, but it talks about the crash, and it talks about what people in position tried to do, or what they did do or didn't do, that could have had an impact on everything. But anyway, so Social Security has been around since 1935. The first payments were paid in 1937. So it's been around for 90 years. Now, unfortunately, there is one political party, and I will offer right now a blanket apology, because when we talk taxes, when we talk about this stuff, we are doing some talking about politics, and I don't want to offend anybody, because that seems to be the thing. If you don't agree with, it's like today, if you don't agree with my thinking politically, I don't want to know you. That's the attitude of most people today, but we cannot have that. We have to be able to listen to opposing viewpoints, to be able to have a conversation, a discussion. And even though we may not disagree, even though we may not agree, we can still agree to be civil with everybody else, whether they agree with us or not. So Social Security has been around since 1937, 90 years. And over the years, people have paid into the Social Security fund. Now, one thing which I did not really know, but I learned recently, because we've heard about this, is that we've heard politicians say that they have to take a hard look at Social Security and Medicare. If we are working, we are contributing that 7.65%, the FICA tax that's on your paycheck every week, every other week, whenever you get them. Okay, that's 7.65% of your gross salary. 6.2% of that goes to Social Security, and 1.45 goes to Medicare. Those amounts are matched by your employer. Everybody thinks that when they're getting Social Security, everybody doesn't realize that realistically they only paid for half of it. But anyway, Social Security's been around for 90 years. And in the early years, so going back from 1937 to 1950, the max was $3,000. So after $3,000, you had nothing more contributed to Social Security. And over the years, it went up gradually. And by 1971, it was up to $7,800. Then in 72, what they did was they started indexing the Social Security increase, and it was tied in with the National Average Wage Index. So it went up a few $1,000s every year. And in the 80s and in the 70s and the 80s, and by 1990, the max was $51,300. By 2008, it was up to 102,000. And today, this year, 2026, the max is $184,500. Everybody on their first $184,500 of earned income, that is salary, that is profit from a Schedule C, an unincorporated business, you are paying in the max of 7.65. If you're a Schedule C, you're paying both ends of that, 15.3%. But for those individuals, they are getting a 50% credit of what they pay in, against their gross income, going from their gross income to their adjusted gross to their taxable income. So now let's talk about collecting Social Security. Okay, so the full retirement age right now is 67 years old. However, you can start collecting Social Security at the age of 62. But if you do that anywhere in that 5-year gap, you are not getting your full benefits. If you start collecting at age 62 for retirement, you're only getting approximately, I think it's about 75% of your actual benefit, of your full benefits, had you waited till full retirement age. Now, you will still get from that the annual increases that they announce every year, 2.5%, 3%, whatever it is, based on inflation and so forth. But when you hit 67, a lot of people think they will now start getting their full benefits. That is not the case. You will still be getting, from whenever you start collecting, the reduced amount plus every year the annual increases. So you will not get a full bump up to your full retirement benefit at 67. Now, you can check how much you're getting. For those of us who are older, we remember getting the letters every year from Social Security Administration telling us, based on our current history, here's what we will be getting at the various ages, starting from 62, 63, every year from 62 to 67, all the way up to 70, because even though there are some people who they hit 67, they decide not to collect their benefits. They wait the extra 3 years because there will be an increase. But again, how much is the increase? A lot of that will depend on what your actual income is, on what your benefits are. So if you want to check, write this down. You go to the website ssa.gov. So ssa.gov. You will log in. You will have to create an account for yourself, username, password, the whole 9 yards. And then once you do that, you can get your annual report. And what the report shows is, again, what you're collecting, but it also gives you information as to what was reported as income for you over the years. And that's important because you need to take a look at that and look back at your tax returns, at your W-2s, and is that information correct? Did Social Security report is the income that Social Security is reporting that you made in 2005 correct with what you actually earned? If it isn't, you call Social Security, you go down, you make an appointment, and you bring the proof, and they will update their records. Okay? So, now, again, you can start collecting at 62. However, something everybody needs to be aware of. Prior to full retirement age, which again is 67, there are limitations as to how much you are allowed to earn. You can be collecting Social Security and you can still be working, but there are limitations. So, in the years prior to your reaching full retirement age, the year you reach full retirement age. So, if somebody is 62, turned 62 this year, so 5 years from now, that's 2031. So in the years 2026 to 2030, okay, the limitation, and this is for 2026, you cannot earn any more than $24,480. If you go over that, they will claim back, they will claw back, they will make you return $1 of Social Security benefits for every $2 that you go over. Now we get to the year that you are reaching full retirement age. You still have a limitation, but there are now two factors that change. Factor one is that the limitation goes up, and again for 26, it's $65,160. That's 2.5 times the 5 prior years. If you go over that, you have to give back $1 for every 3 you go over. The other factor you have to be aware of is that 65,000 for this year, which will go up a little bit every year, that is only until the month that you hit full retirement age. So, Cloyd, what's your birth month?
May.
Okay, so that means from January through April, you could earn $65,000 in salary.
Mm-hmm.
Once you hit full retirement age, you can earn as much as you want, and they cannot stop you. They cannot take money back from Social Security benefits because you went over the top, over the threshold. Once you've hit that, so it is skewed in that respect more towards the people born earlier in the year than later in the year. For example, my birthday's in November. So if I was hitting full retirement age this year, I would have to only earn $65,000 through October.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody needs to be aware of this. Be aware because, excuse me, you have to know what your limitations are. You have to know what you can and what you cannot do. This is all very important. Now, what happens with the money that everybody pays into Social Security? Well, in years past, Social Security was collecting a lot more money than it was paying out. So by law, the excess money was, I'll use the word, exchanged with the federal government. Treasury bonds were issued in exchange for the money. So the money went into the general fund that the federal government has to operate, but Social Security was given treasury bonds, which over the years they are slowly and gradually cashing in to get the money. You know, in the early years of Social Security, you had like a ratio of 10 people paying, 8 people, 10 people paying in for every one person collecting. Today, I believe it's more like a 2-to-1 ratio. It's a lot lower. And, you know, a couple of years ago, the baby boomers started collecting. Actually, 46, the baby boom was 46 to 64. So that means in 2008, the baby boomers started turning 62, and at the very least, some of them were starting to collect then, but of course, other people were working. They were working till full retirement age or close to it, and they started collecting later on. So you have a lot more people collecting today than you did in the earlier years. Now, we have had several times when we have heard about Social Security crises, about Social Security running out of money. Many people do not know this, but back in the 60s under Lyndon Johnson, remember, back in the 60s, people were only paying in uh, on, okay, from 59 to 65, the max was $4,800. Salary, 66, 67, $6,600. 68 to 71, $7,800. People were paying in on a lot less. But he gave a warning back then about Social Security running out of money. And I wasn't politically active or watching the news at that time. I was still just barely starting elementary school. But he warned about that. The first time I heard about it, I'll go to 1978. When I was in junior high, when I was in the 70s, when I was in junior and senior high school, like most kids, I had a job. I had a paper route. Wasn't a big, and that's when I really started reading newspapers. And I remember in 78 they talked about this because there was an article in the paper I delivered, and it talked about the woman who got the very first Social Security card, 000000001. She was, as I recall, a secretary in West Virginia. And she was in her late 50s, so she worked for about 5 or 6 years, and then she started collecting. Now remember, she only paid in for about 5 or 6 years. And she was only getting $35 a month. Now this is an extreme, but she lived to be 100. So she got back far more than what she paid into it. And there are people from that time who only worked for several years. They did not have a career. They did not work for 30, 40 years and then start collecting Social Security. They worked for a lot less and they started collecting, and they collected far more than what they put in. Of course, on the other side, we have a lot of people who unfortunately pass away before they can even start collecting. And today, we have people who are living a lot longer. You go back to our parents, our grandparents' generation, the people the people who were born in 100 years ago, even born in the 30s and the 40s. Back then, if you lived 10 years after retirement, that was considered a very long time. Today, we have people, they're working till 67. They're living 20, 30. They're living to be over 100. Some people are living to be over 100 years old. We've seen these ads on TV from these financial institutions asking you about how much money do you think you need to live? Do you think you will outlive your money? We see that all the time, and unfortunately, that is a very scary thing, and that is something that can happen even today. So I want people to know you have these options. Where can I go? Okay, so they've talked about, like I said, they have talked about dealing with Social Security. We've heard politicians talking about cutting Social Security benefits. Now, whenever we hear about the federal budget, have you ever noticed that they never talk about the budget with regard to Social Security? That's because Social Security is not part of the budget. Yes, excess funds get added to the general fund, replaced by treasury bills, treasury notes, what have you, but that money has to go back when it's needed. But Social Security is never talked about in the budget. But when I hear these politicians talking about cutting Social Security, my interpretation of that is that, that money that we borrowed, that Social Security has treasury notes on, we're not going to pay it back. That's the scary thing because they can change the law.
Well, Neil, let me ask you this:
Please.
isn't it? I mean, is that's the people's money? I mean, that's your our money going in for a purpose for
Correct.
this purpose. So, I guess my question is, well, how can someone say, well, we're not going to pay that?
Uh, this is the federal government.
Do they do?
It's
Or if
Congress.
they're not going to pay that, are you going to stop taking it?
Nope.
Because you're going to keep taking it, but you're not going to pay it.
Well, I
So
don't know if that's actually going to be the case. That is
I'm just
just,
saying that's what
yeah,
it sounds like.
yes, that's what it sounds like. That they're not. I interpret that when Mr. McConnell, uh, in past years got on and talked about cutting benefits. Whenever you hear a politician talking about cutting benefits, the first thing that comes to my mind is that the money that they owe, that the federal government has to pay back Social Security, they're not going to do that.
Mm.
I could be wrong.
You
I
could be
pray, in
right.
this case, I pray that I am. I really do, but we have to be aware. Social Security was never intended to be a be all and an end all. You have to have other monies put away. That's why where you're working, if they offer a retirement plan, you participate. You put in as much as you can. If they don't, you open up the IRA. Do you want to do the traditional? Do you want to do the Roth? Again, that's up to you. When do you want the tax benefit? Just on a side note, when you're talking IRAs, there is traditional and there is Roth. The difference between the two is that with the traditional, you're getting a tax benefit now. It grows tax free, but then when you start taking money out, it's taxable as ordinary income. With the Roth IRA, you are not taking the tax benefit now, and then later down the road, when you start taking the money out, it is tax free then.
Hmm.
And that also applies to 401ks and 403bs and any other type of plan that you have. When are you getting the tax benefit, now or later? Unfortunately, I say this again, personal opinion, agree or feel free to agree or disagree, but tax rates have nowhere to go but up. They should be taxed more on the higher level than on the lower brackets, but who knows what a future Congress will do. When Congress passed the one big beautiful last year, which made many of the provisions from the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017 permanent. Permanent is only until another Congress decides to do something else. Because the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, in 86, which was the prior major tax overhaul, which cut the top rates because they feel that the wealthy will spend more money. And therefore it will trickle down to everybody else. Trickle down only trickles down so far. I mean, think about it. Think about it. Okay, I see. Hi, Karen. I see you there. Uh, I'm going to ask everybody to think about this question. You're now in a position where you have more money than you know what to do with. This is retirement, okay? This could even be multi-generational money. How much is your life really going to change? Okay, yes, you're working, you may stop working, but you're still going to have to keep yourself active. You're going to, whether it's finding your passion or working less, you're going to find things to do to
Were you
keep.
like on Zoom? Yeah. But like, I'm here.
Hi,
Go ahead.
somebody calling in? Somebody asking a
Sorry.
question?
No, we're good. We're good. I
Okay,
got it.
just want to make sure. Okay, how much is your life really going to change? How much are you really going to spend? But think about that. Think about that for yourselves because everybody here, I'm pretty sure, will be working until the last possible moment. And then you have to worry about what you've put aside plus Social Security, whatever that's going to be. So now, Social Security solutions, what can they do? What will they do? What do they want to do? Well, got a lot of questions about that. There are a lot of potential solutions or fixes that they could possibly do. So, as we know, the threshold where you max out on Social Security paying in to Social Security, that goes up every year. I mean, like this year, like I said, 26, it's 184.5. 2025, it was $176,100. The year before, it was 168.6, and in 2023, it was $160,200. So as we see, it goes up. Some years it goes up 4,000, other years it goes up 5. This year it went up $88,400 from the year before that people are paying in on. Okay? So they will, and that is something they will continue to do, raising it based on wage indexes. But what would prevent them from, say, passing a law that says the next year, instead of it going up to, let's just say, 190,000, we're going to raise it to $300,000. Remember, people who are getting six-figure incomes, and I'm talking mid to high six-figure incomes, and let's even go with people who are getting seven-figure incomes. This year, they're only paying in on $184,500. And their employer is matching that.
Wow.
I mean, if I could, again, this is me talking, Neil Fishman, CPA, average, no, just person on the street, I would think of doing three things today that could save Social Security. Would you like to know what they are, Cloyd?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so the first one is just what I said. Take that threshold and drastically raise it. And so let's say let's use $300,000. So now from 300,000 to $1 million, you're not going to pay anything. You're not going to pay anything and your employer pays nothing. But then once you hit that $1 million threshold, anything above that, you're going to pay again. You're going to pay the full 6.2%. Because let's be honest, if you're making, let's say someone's making $2 million in salary. So they paid the Social Security on the first 300,000. They didn't pay anything on the next 700,000. Now they have to pay on the next $1 million. 6.2% of $1 million is $62,000. With all due respect, I don't think people in that kind of income category are going to miss $62,000. It's a thought.
That's right.
Okay? Okay, so those are two things. I think those things would be very easy to sell. The third one, this is the hard one. I call it needs testing. Do you need the Social Security? Now, of course, everybody's going to say, I paid into it. It's mine. I'm entitled to it. You're right. But like I said before, you only paid in for half of it. So needs testing, because I know people, I have clients. And I'm going to use them as an example, and I hope they're not listening to this. But they were teachers in New York State, and they get a great pension in New York State. They're getting, I don't know, anywhere from 50 to 80,000 a year in a pension. They participated while working in a 403B. A 403B is the government equivalent of a 401k plan, which was then when they left and they took that money, that got rolled over into an IRA. So between all of that, they're getting, and then on top of that, they're getting Social Security. So I have some clients who they're getting I'll take a single individual, they're getting around $150,000 a year just in retirement benefits between their pension and their IRA. Do they really need the money? I'm just asking the question. I'm not saying yes or no. Now, people are going to say, well, they worked for it. They're entitled to it. Yes, that's true. But again, they only paid in for half. And The government already has a mechanism for this. Because again, let's talk Medicare for a moment. Claude, are you collecting Social Security yet? Cloyd, you're mute.
No, I'm not.
Okay. Well, are you on are you getting Medicare?
Yes.
Okay. So Cloyd's getting Medicare, but right now he's paying for it out of his pocket. When he starts collecting Social Security, they will automatically deduct it from his Social Security payment. And we're talking Medicare B, which is doctor plan, and Medicare D, which is the drug plan. Now, with Medicare, everybody pays the same base amount. But whether you're single or whether you're married, there are thresholds based on your income. And every time you cross these thresholds, they are charging you more for Medicare B and Medicare D. Yeah, I think their response, if you ask them, their response would most likely be, "You can afford it." I mean, I've seen clients who have very healthy incomes, and they're paying $4,000 or $5,000 for Medicare.
Oh.
Now the thing is that every year they look back at your most recent return and determine whether how much extra you should be paying. Basically, what it is it's taking your gross income and it's adding in any tax exempt income you have. So if you know somebody who is getting a lot of money from municipal bonds, because those, state and local municipal bonds, those are on the federal level, those are tax exempt.
Mhm.
They are tax exempt to your home if it's your home state. But if, let's say, you are a New York resident and you have New Jersey municipal bonds, the New Jersey municipal bond income will be taxed on the New York state level.
Mm.
So that's one possibility of what they could do. A few other things I've heard is they talk about raising the full retirement age. And in fact, if you think back to 2 years ago during the primary season, and they were having the Republicans were having the various debates or press conferences, whatever you want to call them, they were talking about this. And you had a few of the candidates say, we are not going to raise the full retirement age. Well, in politics, never say never. Because we don't know what's going to happen. We really don't.
That's right.
So you have to be aware of that. So as I talked about it, okay, what else could they do? Hold on one second. Let me get the paper. I had that here. Okay. So things that they could do. Like I said, they talk about so first of all, one is they could raise the retirement age. They could raise the deduction for Social Security. Like right now, it's 6.2% for you, 6.2% for your employer, 12.4%. What if they raise it to a flat 15%, just using a number? Then everybody's paying 7.5%. Again, I'm not saying this is going to happen. These are things that could happen. I'm not saying, okay, next. Okay. I talked about raising the cap. They could eliminate the cap altogether. Just like they did for Medicare. Back in the 90s. And I remember this because, working on certain clients, they had two thresholds. There was the first, as I said before, the threshold was for both Social Security and Medicare. Then Medicare was having financial issues, so they first raised the Medicare threshold up to 125,000, and then they eliminated it altogether. So even today, you're earning $1 million. They're still deducting the 1.45% for Medicare matched by your employer.
Mm.
And then, of course, from the Affordable Care Act, earned income, there is a Medicare surcharge of 0.9% on any compensation over $200,000. But when you have your return prepared, if your income is actually less than that because it's 200,000, but for a married couple filing jointly, it's on the first 250,000. So if it's, let's say you have one spouse who earns $210,000. So they paid that extra 0.9% on $10,000. Okay? Their spouse only works part-time because they're home raising the kids. So let's say their salary was only $30,000. So between the two, that's $240,000. So that excess 0.9% is going to come back to them. What happens with that is it gets added to their federal withholding tax, thereby increasing the amount paid in and therefore either increasing a refund or reducing a balance due. Okay? They could talk about, and I've heard this for years. Claude, you know what an S corporation is, right? A sub S?
Yes.
Okay. For those who do not know what a sub S corporation is, it was created back in the 1950s. It is a cross between a corporation and a partnership. So the S corp does not pay the S corp, when it files its tax return, it does not pay any federal income tax. Instead, the shareholders, the members, they get a K-1 form for their ownership interest, and that amount gets reported as income on their personal return. Whether they took money out or not is irrelevant for tax purposes. So if Cloyd and I are in a business and we're 50-50, and we have a business that has a $90,000 profit, that's after everything, including salaries that we took, we're each going to get a K-1 for $45,000. That gets added to our income on our personal return. Okay, so for years I've heard rumblings that they might tax S corp profits. They do that now with partnerships, with the exception of real estate partnerships. So if it's a partnership like a law partnership or a medical partnership, your share of the profits are not only subject to income tax, but they are subject to self-employment tax, the full amount, all the way up to
Wow.
whatever the threshold is. So they could do that, but they've talked about that for years. But there was
Yeah.
a revenue ruling back in 1958, which said that S corp profits are technically are dividends. Yeah, I'm saying if you're taking our dividends and you pay tax on them, whether you got the money or not.
Listen, Neil. This is a plethora of information. It's a lot of information, and I want to go back. I want to go
Sure,
back a little bit
sure.
because there is so much. I'm writing notes, and I'm sure that other people are. Um, First of all, I want to ask my panel. Ask the panel: is there any questions? Is there any? Yeah, because I know that some people have some things that that they've been wondering about. This is a very interesting topic. I see your hand up, Karen. Come on with your question.
I want you to know I left work and still got on to this call, and I'm in the car because this was so important to me to hear this information. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So I have a
You're
bunch of
welcome.
questions.
You're welcome.
I got a bunch
Please.
of questions. Okay. Now, because I'm going to retire, right? I got this whole plan, but then when I heard your topic, I was like, uh-oh, I'm going to have to check with him first. So my plan was, and you tell me if I'm on the right path or not, or if my thinking is wrong.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to retire. I'm going to put in for Social Security at 67, right?
Yep.
So do I have to wait till I'm 67 or do I do it a couple of months prior to? Because I was hearing people say you have to apply for it 3 months prior to your 67th
So then
birthday.
that's when you would go and apply for it.
Okay, so that's
You
three
go in
months.
ahead of time now. Just now, remember, you may not get at 67. You may not get your first Social Security check right away, but you will get whatever you're supposed to get. So if it takes them a couple of months to process everything, when you
Okay.
get your first payment, you will get all the payments that you will get a payment to cover all the payments that you did not receive plus the one you're due at that time.
Okay. So, okay, that's question number one. And I also, this was my plan that I'm sorry, paddle, just bear with me. So, my plan was I was going to apply for Social Security at 67. Then but I still was going to work another year. And the reason for that I was doing that, was I wanted to, get a feel of living basically on a Social Security check, because that's what I want to live off of, my Social Security check and my pension, because I have a pension from New York.
Mhm.
So the money that I make, so basically, okay, so I put in for Social Security at 67. I'm going to actually leave my job at 68. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the money that I make, get paid every 2 weeks, in the bank, so that I can learn how to live off of the money that I now will be living off of, because by the time I turn 67, like you said, you don't we don't spend the same kind of money, because I'm older now. Like, I don't have all of the stuff like car payments and all that kind of stuff. It's not there anymore. So I should be able to, between the two, the Social Security and the pension, be okay, right?
Okay, so first of all, 67, yes. Working another year, not a bad idea. It also gives you a year to build up reserves.
Yes.
Okay. But what I would suggest you're doing, and you can do this now. First of all, when are you hitting 67?
Well, I'm retiring in 44 months. I got it down
Okay,
pat.
so you got 4 years.
Yes,
Okay.
so but
So,
I'm going to 67. I'll
right.
be 68 then, but in
Okay.
67,
This is
yeah.
what, okay, so Karen, this is what I think, this is what you should do. This is what everybody should do at any time. You need to sit down and figure out what are your average monthly expenses.
Hmm.
Now, so for example, uh, I have a mortgage, so I have my mortgage payment. I live in a gated community. I have a monthly HOA payment. Uh,
Hmm.
my wife has a car payment. Uh, this is my electric bill. This is my water bill, etc. Sit down and figure out what the average is. Now, there are some things you may not be paying every month. Like for example, car insurance. I just got my renewal for
Hmm.
my renewal, which I have to pay next month. But I only get billed twice a month. I mean, I only
Twice
get
a
billed
year.
twice. I have to only make payments twice a year. I'm sorry, twice a
Mm.
year. So what I have to do is I take that payment, I divide it by 6 because that's how I know. So if my payment is, let's just use it. I'm going to use, let's say my car insurance, because it's my wife's car and my car, is $4,800. So that means I have to pay $2,400. I divide that by 6. I need $400 a month for auto
Mhm.
insurance for our cars. And
Mhm.
anything else like that, you try to average out.
Mhm.
And then how much are you spending on food? How much are you spending on having fun? Have you set
Right.
aside money? Are you planning when you retire? Is there something that you put off until then? So like Karen, uh, are you planning once you retire, are you planning on doing anything special, like going on an extended cruise or a trip or something?
Yes, I'm going to Paris.
Good for you. For how long?
Maybe a week or two.
Okay. But you got to have the money for that. You
Right.
know, when we're younger, and I guess you're going to say, well, I'm being hypocritical because I don't have kids, but when we're younger and we start a family and we're saving and we're putting money away for our kids
Mhm.
and we're putting away for college and for their activities, and when the kids are little, we're going on the vacations are more kid oriented, like if they're still toddlers, you go to Disney. When they're a
Mhm.
little older, you go to Universal. When they're older, you can go on a cruise or you go to a resort where the kids can go off on their own, and
Mhm.
you and your spouse can hang out by the pool or do something else because you know the kids are fine. But there are things you've put off until the kids are out of the house and you're not
Mhm.
working, because when you're working, you can't take off 3 weeks to say
Mhm.
go on a cruise of the South Pacific.
Mhm.
You can do that when you're retired. Got to have the money for that. But also remember the one X factor for everybody, Karen, and everybody else listening. Do you know what that one X factor is, Karen?
No,
Your health.
that is true.
Yes. So you have to have money. I mean, if you can, get a long-term care policy.
Yes, somebody told me that.
Of course, if you're unfortunately, Karen, if you don't have it yet, I'm just pointing this out. It's less expensive when you're younger. When you're
Yes.
older, they will charge you more.
I question with that. Okay,
Yes.
so I have long-term care with my employer.
Mm-hmm.
Once I'm not there anymore, that goes away.
You need to talk with your employer and the insurance long-term care carrier and ask them, do you have any options when you retire?
Okay, I'll find
Because
out.
they may have a plan that you would have to pay into yourself to
Mm-hmm.
continue that long-term care. I don't know, but you have
Right.
to ask the question. And if they say no, you can always ask them, then where would I go to look for a long-term care policy? Because you want to have that, if you're going to get one on your own, you want to have that in place for when you do stop working and you are no longer eligible for the
Right.
plan at your place of employment.
This is great,
Okay.
man.
Yeah.
I'm here laughing because only on Let Your Voice Be Heard Talk Radio we get all of this stuff, and we have this. Listen, man, we have all walks of life, man. We have all kinds of people on here, man, and talking about everything, man. But all of it is needed and helpful. Um,
Yes,
I'm
yes, yes.
I'm I'm really appreciating you, Neil, and what you bring into the table. There's other questions, Karen. If
Okay,
you'll
wait,
give me
wait,
any.
wait, wait, wait. One second, 1 second. My last question is,
Okay.
is there a cap, like, of how much your Social Security? Somebody had told me there was a cap, but I'm not sure. So
As to how
is
much you
it?
would get from Social Security?
Yes, yes, monthly.
No, it's based on your earnings.
Okay,
No, like I
so
said, go to ssa.gov,
okay,
create the account, and get your most recent report
okay.
as to what your earnings are. Like I said, it will give you detail of your earnings. If I look at my last one, if I remember, like it went from 1980 to 1999, had the grand total amount, but then starting, I think was in 2000, it started showing my Social Security earnings by individual year. This will also tell you that based on your current information, this is what you will be getting at from age 62 all the way up to age 70 in benefits monthly. That's before any deductions for Medicare B, Medicare D. You can even have federal income tax withheld from your Social Security benefits.
We pay taxes on Social Security.
Up to 85% of your Social Security can be taxable. Prior to 1986, the max was 50%. Again, we only pay in for half. But under
Mm.
the 86 Reform Act, when they eliminated several of the much higher tax rates, they had to make up for the loss in revenue. So they redid the formula for computing the taxability of Social Security. Basically, what it is you take all your other income, half your Social Security benefits, you get that amount. Uh, there is a formula, add, subtract. There is an exemption. The exemption is 25,000 if you're single, 34,000 if you're married. Just so you know, those two numbers have never been adjusted or indexed for inflation in all the years I've been doing this, and I've been doing this since 1989. Okay, and then that determines how much of your Social Security is taxable. So up to 85% of your Social Security benefits can be taxed. But if your other income is below those thresholds, then none of your Social Security will be taxable.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I'll let somebody else ask the question now.
Thank you. You're so kind. I know this. this stuff is very important, and people want to know. Um, I see Ganange. What a blessing to have you. Thank you for being with us again tonight. Ganange asks, how would this information help the homeless, and are they still able to get SSI if they haven't worked for a while? Because
Okay.
Salt Lake City, where he lives, has a lot there.
Okay. Well, basically, you have to contribute for 10 years to Social Security to get any kind of benefit for retirement.
Uh,
So basically, you
well,
have to work 40, as they say, 40 quarters. There is a amount, and I don't have it off the top of my head. It's like, I think like $5,000 or $6,000 per quarter, something like that. Uh, I would invite people to research that. But if you've paid at least that amount over 40 quarters, you are eligible for Social Security retirement benefits.
so you have to work for 10 years. You got to put
Basically
in
10 years. Now, also remember is that Social Security, all payments are direct deposit.
all payments direct deposit.
So you
So
have to have a
you got
bank,
to have a bank account.
so you have to have a bank account, yes.
So Kanunge, I think that he said you answered his question. Is there anyone else has anything they want to add or anything they want to ask? I'm, I don't know. I'm curious as to, you said something in the beginning about the age 62, or
Yes.
retiring at 62, opposed to retiring at 67, right? What is the benefit of waiting?
Uh, you will get more in the way of Social Security
You get
benefits.
you get
Remember, at
more
62,
benefits.
you're not getting, remember, at 67, you get 100%.
Okay.
Okay. At 62, you only get 75, 70%.
Well, okay. So you
And like
leave.
I said, you collect earlier, you don't get the bump up to full benefits when you hit 67. Once you start collecting, your increases are based on just whatever they announce, 2.5% increase, 3.1% increase, 4% increase. It's still getting. So if at age 67 you were going to get $3,000, and at
Uh-huh.
age 62 it's you're getting, let's say I'm going to use the number 75%, so that's 2,250, 75% of 3,000. You're going to still get the increases, whatever they announce they are, 2%,
Right.
2.3, but when you hit 67, you will not automatically be bumped up to $3,000.
Oh,
Once you
okay.
start collecting, that's it.
So you okay? That's it. So you get the increases on what you get
Yeah,
at
the
62. When they
increases
get
that
to
they announce, the
67, you
cost of
still
living increases that they announce.
so you're getting them based on when you when
Right.
you
So if
see.
they said it's a say it's a 2% increase on 2% increase, so it's 2,250 times 1.02%, that's $450 more.
Wow.
Or 40, I try to strike that. That's $45 more a month. And then the next year it's a 3% increase, and it's based on whatever that's 22,270. 3% of that goes up 3%. And so and then when you hit 67, you're not getting bumped to $3,000. You're still just getting the increases based every year on the cost of living adjustments that they announce.
This is really good stuff. Really good stuff. Only on Let Your Voice Be Heard. We getting ready to leave. We're gonna get out of here. But before we go, I see Karen. I mean, she's using you, Neil. She's using you. Come on, come
You
on.
can
We're gonna
use
let
me,
you go
but you
before
can't
we go.
abuse me.
Okay, I'm not going to abuse you, but I'll use you. Okay, so how does this impact? Okay, so um, a married couple should they individually should have separate social security checks, correct?
Yes,
Not
they do.
as one.
That's
Okay.
correct. Because he might, because let's just say they're 2 years apart in age. He
Mhm.
retires at 67. She works for 2 more years, and then she retires at 67. They're each going to get their own social security check. The one difference is that when the spouse, if they're married, Social Security will take a look and see which gets you the better benefit, because a spouse can either get on their benefits
Mm-hmm.
or they can get based on their spouse's benefits. They're not going to get the same amount of their spouse. I think they get 50%. Oh, so like if the spouse is getting $25,000 in let's say 30,000 in benefits for the year. So if they were going to they would be getting 15,000. But if they look at their own Social Security, they might be getting 20,000. It's better to get it on their own. If their Social Security benefit is less than the 15,000, then they're better getting on based on their spouses. But the only thing is, they have to have been married for at least 10 years.
Okay.
And now, you could have somebody who was married for 12 years, got divorced. Married a second time, was married for 15 years, got divorced. Now they go to collect Social Security. It's not just their account, but also their two ex-spouses they can look at.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
Not saying you're going to get everything from all three. Remember, it's just one payment. It's going to be based on one amount. You're not going to be collecting from, your Social Security is not going to be based on you plus ex-spouse number one plus ex-spouse number two.
You guys
Okay.
better you guys better get your pens and papers out, man. We
Right.
we have guests like Niel Fishman on this show. You got it's a lot of information. I have plenty of notes. Neil,
Mm.
we love you, bro, and bless you for being here with us. And we gotta
Thank you.
get you. We gotta get you back. We gotta get you back. I'm gonna get with you gotta get with Tony, and we gotta figure out how to get you back on here, man. Because and there's some questions that come in after you get off of here that we need to get answered. So we'll have a show, just a question and answer show,
Yeah,
if we need to.
Like I see here in the messages that was it B. Bernadette said stuff I never really thought about.
Stuff she never really thought about.
Okay,
Is,
I'm going to tell everybody right now who's listening, you should always be thinking about this, because tomorrow comes a lot faster than you think.
That's right. That's right.
And you need to be as well prepared for it as you can.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm in agreement. And you guys, listen to this stuff, man. And come on in here and get your information, man. Get this information, because you have to pay for this information somewhere else. But here on Let Your Voice Be Heard, we want to let everyone's voice be heard. So my panel, I love you guys. You guys are awesome. Just keep coming, and I'm gonna keep coming. It's your boy now.
Step in.
Thank you, everybody.
Mic on and begin. Hey. Been quiet too long, chewed up tongue, turned down songs, clock keeps ticking on the wall, but your name's still missing from the roll call. Let your voice be heard, say every single word, from the low notes to the sky, throw hands up high. Let your voice be heard, loud, clear, undeterred. If it shakes the room, that's how you know it's you, yeah. Oh, yeah. You got a truth tucked deep in your chest, heartbeat tapping out, say it, confess. Crowd might stare, let them do what they do. They never held a fire living in you. Let your voice be heard, say every single word, from the low notes to the sky, throw hands up high. Let your voice be heard, loud, clear, undeterred. If it shakes the room, that's how you know it's you, yeah. Speak up, name your dream out loud. Stand up, you're the leader of this crowd. One spark, one shout, watch the silence melt.